everyone, welcome back to the railroad, the Union Pacific Railroad Evanston subdivision in HO Scale. My name is Darrell Cruz, owner and builder of the layout, and your host for episode 45 of season 2024. Just a few episodes left in this year, and then we'll start the new year. Did not get very much done this week in scenery. And I spent a lot of time on the train and on the layout, but very little, just a few hours on scenery, which I'll show you here in a little bit. But got involved in doing some other things. That's one of the great things about this hobby, is that there's so many facets, and if you get tired of doing one thing, you can completely work on something different, or you can work on something completely different. But as far as the scenery goes, this is kind of how things looked for the whole week. Not anything done at all. Now, one of my biggest concerns after last week was this matching up with the backdrop. It was just a little too green for the backdrop, a little too green for the prototype. So I wanted to do that. I was hoping also to get some ballasting done as well. Did not get the ballasting done, but I did do some work to get that taken care of. Now, what did I spend most of the week doing? I was working on my motive power, basically. I was working on switching some of my locomotives over to ESU decoders. I had about half, a little bit less than half of my engines are ESU, the other half are soundtracks, and it really does not work that well. So I decided to go all into ESU, and not only did I get some decoders to switch over, but I also got the Loc programmer, which you can use to load sound files and very easily work on programming each decoder. Along with the Loc programmer, I also got this tester. This is a pretty cool device. You can see there's a decoder plugged into the next 18 socket on the lower left-hand portion of that. And then you can basically hear what's going on and so forth. So I did a lot on my programming and my decoders of my rolling stock. And then also I wrote a program to reassign. You can't really read this very well, but if you want to take a look at this, this is written in QBasic 64. And I like to mix up my motive power on my trains every once in a while. It kind of gets boring to see the same consist always pulling the same train. So I wrote this program to randomly assign my motive power to all the different trains. Now here's a list of all the motive power available. There's 56 locomotives here. Some of them are AC, which is on the very right hand, AC power. Others are DC power. So you have not only the road number, but then the model, the road, the manufacturer, type of decoder, and then the last column is whether it's AC or DC. And that's important as far as assigning trains, because you want to make sure AC power is assigned to like coal trains and so on. But anyway, that program prints out, it basically randomly selects everything. Even though these two coal trains all have AC power, which they use for long trains. AC are better for pulling, and then DC is assigned to the locals, and then the rest of the trains have AC and DC mixed in. But you can see all the trains are assigned. The asterisk on the very left hand is also decides which one's going to be the lead unit. So it doesn't take long to generate a new assignment for all the trains. These are the leftover motive power that's not assigned to anything. So it doesn't take long to generate the list. It does take a while to get them all moved around and then do all the reprogramming so that they can be consist together. Basically takes all day. Plus I had the Loc programmer, so I could kind of read all my ESU decoders, and so anyway, I had a lot of fun doing that. That was a lot of fun. Now, as far as the scenery on the layout, all I did was work this morning. Did a couple hours. I did definitely want to get the greenness away from the layout, and I also wanted to do some weathering on these bridges. I was going to ballast the track, as I said, but if I had ballasted, I was not going to be able to remove these bridges anymore. So once I ballast, the bridges are pretty much going to be locked in. So I decided I need to make sure that I got everything done that needed to be done before I locked the bridges in place. So I wanted to get the bridges weathered. Notice they're not weathered at all, and not only the bridges but also the abutments and the piers. Wanted to get that definitely taken care of. Now here you can see then the first weathering that I did, and I basically just took some spray paint, Rust-Oleum 5-in-1 spray paint, where you can set the nozzle on mist or very light flow, and it actually works pretty good for weathering. And so I did a kind of a dark brown from below, and then a light brown, almost a sand color, dust color, from the top for the dust. And my goal here for the spray paint is just to kind of take the plasticky look away from it and give it just a general base coat of that. And then I use these pigments from Ammo Rail Center to actually do the rust on them, and then also some of some darker colors for the abutments and piers. So here's how the rust looks on there, and it's probably not weathered as much as the prototype, but I don't like to do it too heavy. I'm always afraid I'm going to go too far, and then it's almost impossible to back up, especially with the spray paint. But the rust, with the pigment, you can kind of take a little bit off if you need to. But it really turned out pretty good, I think. I really like the way it looks. And then here you can see the darker pigments. Again, you can get these pigments from Lombard Hobbies. They have the full catalog of Ammo paints and pigments for weathering. But it really looks good on the rock piers. Now the actual piers are poured concrete, but I really like these piers from Walthers. They look great with the weathering in there also. So I'm pretty happy with the way all the weathering came out. A lot of the dark pigments ended up on the ground around the piers, but it actually looks pretty good. It looks like dirt. But I did put some extra foliage around to kind of, so it's not so obvious. Notice I also did the abutments with the darker color. Now before I do the ballasting, I'm also going to have to do work on the river, anything underneath the bridges, and then the road also. But this actually turned out pretty good. And again, I just did this morning. Now, as I said, I'm going to have to do the road here that's going to go around here and then up through this direction all the way up, and that's going to go around the curve and go to the Echo Canyon. And I'm also going to need to put the railings and stuff on the road bridge as well. I also put some yellow grass, coarse turf around to kind of lighten things up a little bit. Also use some buff color ballast as well as gray ballast. Really made a difference here where so it blends in with this part of the backdrop. This is where the wholesome cement buildings are going to be. There's going to be some more stuff going in there. So we'll see a couple trains going across the bridge here. This is a new consist for the Z train, the double stack train. It's a BLI Gevo at the lead. That's a brand new engine. And then a SD90 Mac and a SD70M by Athearn. So that consist has the ESU decoder at the lead unit, and then soundtracks decoders in the following units. I'm going to try and get everything over to ESU. I'm not sure if I'm going to do the whole, my total roster. Definitely want enough so that all the lead units have ESU, because that's has the most lights happening and so forth. You can make ESU and soundtracks work together, but it definitely would be better to have it all standardized. When I do the reviews on installing the ESU decoders, I'll not only tell about the experience, but also, my reasons for switching over to ESU. The trailing unit is SD70 ACE, also by Athearn. And this is coming from the other direction. For this train, we have a Kansas City Southern unit leading the way. This is a pretty cool shot because you can see the whole train down. This has about 35 cars, so it's a pretty long train. And that's a SD60 and a SD70 ACE. So again, there's a ESU in the lead and a couple of Athearns in consist with it. It's not difficult to consist them together as far as speed matching. That's pretty easy, but getting all the function keys to work the same and getting that standardized, that's where you have some difficulties. Again, I'll go over that when I do the reviews on the decoders and reviews on the local programmer. I'm actually thinking about switching my Digitrax over to ESU also, but that will be a lot more involved. All right, next week I'll get the ballasting done, hopefully, and some more work on the scenery. Hopefully still get this done by Christmas. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, everyone. Take care.